We are in North Beach, getting ready to leave the city. While we're here, we will take a look at Sam's, and then we got to get into this driverless car. There they are, that old grill that's been there for decades. Like some of the best double cheeseburgers around. In fact, top 3 in the world. All right, I have to make it out onto Broadway and get into this driverless car now. There it is, it's waiting for me. Probably won't want to wait for me all too much longer since we're blocking traffic. But I think I have made it. Boom. I'm gonna sit in the front though. Let's do it. All right, we can hit start ride as long as I get my seatbelt on.
Heading to Dearborn Community Garden. Please make sure your seatbelt is fastened.
Perfect. All right, what's everybody up to? I know I started the video with a look at Sam's. That's where I just ate. Make sure there's no mustard on my face. That was good. Double cheeseburger. So we got a tight schedule. Swim in the bay. Took community. I had an Irish coffee. I stopped at the Buena Vista spot with the original Irish coffee. On my way to North Beach to Sam's, had the double cheeseburger. Said hi to the guys there. On the wall at Sam's, they had the newspapers that they've installed, and I've heard that one of my viewers donated the newspapers to them. But forgot to ask about that today. That's the rumor. But this is the Chronicle from the day after the 49ers beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl that was held in New Orleans. So that was the 49ers' second straight Super Bowl. They repeated as champions. And then obviously the next year, I think they were favored to three-peat, but they lost to the New York Giants at Candlestick Park. To date, those 49ers, that was the closest that we've ever seen a team come to a three-peat. Well, obviously this next season, the Kansas City Chiefs will be aiming for a three-peat. And I think that the 49ers might be the team standing in their way. So that just got me thinking about what's at stake here for the 49ers, what's at stake here for the Chiefs. And, as I'm in a rush, the driverless car is about to enter the Broadway Tunnel. As I'm in a rush, I figured it would be, I've never been in a tunnel with this car. This is kind of cool, actually. Figured it'd be good to talk about this before I leave San Francisco. I've got to catch a flight here in a couple hours. I'm one of those people that pushes it at the airport. Do you think that we're going to maintain, not Union Square time, Eric Gomes, this is the Broadway Tunnel, this is not the Stockton Tunnel. I'm wondering if we're going to keep reception. The cell reception has gotten a lot better. Yeah, I think we will. So it's going to spit us out on the other side of Russian Hill, and we're going to go past my old slot in Russian Hill on Larkin. Always nice to see where I used to live. We're about 22 minutes away from my destination. Then I got to pack up and I've got to head to the airport. I have to do a couple more things to get that studio ready. You guys might have seen that. That's where I used to live, right down Larkin. Awesome. And we're going to go buy the old Nick's Crispy Tacos here. It's no longer on Broadway and Polk, but this is where I saw Warriors play or win their first championship of the dynasty that we recently saw end, right there at Rouge. Not even sure if it's called Rouge anymore, but it was a good sports bar. There were people going nuts in there back when the Warriors won. All right, so 49ers trying to stop a Chiefs three-peat because Kansas City, they're not favored to win this year. The 49ers are, but Kansas City, they've got a shot at it, that's for sure. They've got the quarterback. They've got some good players. Now, they've had a lot of off-season, off-field drama. That's something to keep in mind as far as the Chiefs go. But I think that these seasons are so long that even if they do get off to a little bit of a slow start because of all the distractions and, the Super Bowl hangover, they have enough time to stabilize and recover. I mean, last year there were times when Kansas City looked absolutely terrible, but they ultimately did get the job done. When we talk about what's at stake for the 49ers, and look, we got a Brock Purdy jersey crossing the street. You can't really see it. That car's in the way. There's a kid wearing a 13 jersey. There were so many people wearing 13 jerseys little kids wearing 13 jerseys of Brock Purdy's camp today. We're going to be making this run onto Van Ness. Always a fun time. And we're about 20 minutes away from where we're going. So with the 49ers, that dynasty that they had in the late 80s going into the early 90s, it really looked like they were on their way to a three-peat. And I think that what happened at Candlestick against the New York Giants when Roger Craig fumbled, Joe Montana obviously got hurt in that game, and then Matt Barr hit the game-winning field goal. What happened at Candlestick that day, I think, was a sobering reminder that because you have the strongest team, just because you're favored, it doesn't mean that you're going to win it all. And it's really, really tough to win it all. And the 49ers, they won 5 Super Bowls throughout the 80s and the 90s, but they also lost many times in the NFC Championship game. They also, they suffered a lot of very, very difficult defeats. There was one at Washington where there was a tough call against Ronnie Lott that led to the 49ers losing. That was right after they had won a Super Bowl in the 80s. They obviously lost that one to the New York Giants in the 1990 season. Obviously, the NFC Championship game losses to the Cowboys thwarted the 49ers from reaching the Super Bowl. And then you could fast forward to the Harbaugh years where you had gut-wrenching NFC title game losses against the New York Giants again, and then against the Seattle Seahawks. And then, of course, the past 5 years have seen a lot more heartache for the 49ers, where they've been to at least the NFC Championship game in 4 of those seasons, but they've yet to win a Super Bowl over the past half decade. So 49ers fans probably don't need to be reminded that it's extremely hard to win a Super Bowl, but they should also be reminded that it took this team many tries in the past to break through the way that it did to create its glory era. For example, the 1981 49ers, they won that Super Bowl, but remember how much torment they went through at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys in the early 1970s, losing an NFC Championship game to close Kezar Stadium, losing a divisional playoff game in the first year of Candlestick Park where Dallas had to recover an onside kick. It was always this exorcism of demons for the 49ers whenever they did win a Super Bowl, right? Remember, 81 came off of the 70s when Dallas was beating them. 84 against the Dolphins came off of that stretch in between the first Super Bowl and the early 80s, where a lot of people were questioning Joe Montana. They said that Dan Marino, because he could throw the ball further, was a better quarterback. Those takes didn't end up aging well. Also, the loss to Washington happened in between those two. And then, the New York Giants looked like they had outclassed the 49ers over the course of 1986 and even 1987, where the 49ers got upset by the Minnesota Vikings before the 88 season. And the 85 Bears won a title in between there. So it looked like the 49ers wouldn't be able to establish a dynasty. And there was, rumors that Bill Walsh was going to get fired. Eddie DeBartolo Jr. was growing impatient. And the 49ers were, 6-5 in 1988. That's when Steve Young ripped off that 49-yard run. But they found a way to get to the Super Bowl and win it against the Cincinnati Bengals. So every single one of these wins up until the 1989 Super Bowl win was the 49ers having to overcome a lot of turbulence, a lot of heartache, a lot of doubters. The 94 Super Bowl win, same thing. They had to overcome the Dallas Cowboys. So that 89 Super Bowl was different. They beat the Broncos 55-10 because it was the only repeat of the 49ers dynasty. And then when they went for the three-peat, the cycle of torment started again. They lost to the Giants. Joe Montana got hurt. It led to Steve Young. The 91 season was really weird. In 92 and 93, they lost to the Cowboys, and then they finally beat Dallas. I give you this whole history as we see City Hall. Just a beautiful day in San Francisco, by the way. But look at City Hall right there, just gleaming in the late afternoon sunshine. It's the second longest day of the year today, or a day after the solstice. But I give you the history because I think it's just so important to contextualize where the 49ers are now. Obviously, the past 5 years have been really, really tough for this team, but one team in particular has made it so for the 49ers, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. So I look at the Chiefs, and I said this in the locker room of the Super Bowl in Las Vegas when the 49ers lost a few months ago. I look at the Chiefs as the modern day Cowboys for the 49ers. The Cowboys beat them in what was essentially a Super Bowl. The Cowboys and the Niners are the best teams in the NFL in 92 and 93. The Cowboys beat the Niners twice in the NFC title game. They beat the Bills 2 times in a row to win the Super Bowl. The 49ers, had they gotten past the Cowboys in either of those 2 years, would almost certainly have won the Super Bowl as well. So when 94 rolled around, the 49ers, Carmen Policy said it best. He's quoted as saying, if we lose to Dallas, we die. And those were the stakes of 49ers Cowboys in 1994. If we lose to Dallas, we die. The 49ers probably would have had to break up the team. They couldn't have tried to continue the dynasty throughout the later 1990s. They restructured a bunch of contracts to make it happen, to be able to keep the gang together and strengthen the team before trying to take down Dallas. And the third time ended up being the charm. So my question now is, will the third time end up being the charm for the 49ers against the Chiefs while stopping Kansas City's three-peat? The number 3, I think, is the central component of all this. Kansas City going for that 3rd straight championship, and the 49ers trying to avoid going 0 for 3 against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And, it's no guarantee that the Chiefs will make the Super Bowl or the 49ers will make the Super Bowl. But if you had a bet, those two teams have got to be the favorites, right? Those two teams have to be. The 49ers are the strongest roster in the NFL. The Chiefs have the best player in the NFL. So how else can we handicap that? I don't think it can go any which way. Thought we had a viewer honking at us, but I don't think so. I was looking to see if I saw anybody. So that's what's at stake. And I think that there's so much beautiful history intertwined with all of this. And I think that there isn't a proper appreciation for that history in modern day following of the NFL. It's always a, what have you done for me lately? I don't care about what happened a year ago, much less what happened 30 or 40 years ago. But I think that the longtime fans, and there's so many of them because football is family and football just, has its way of creating these memories for people. I think people really care about that history because it allows them to have a perspective point for what's happening now. And it makes it mean something. If history didn't mean anything, then everybody would be a huge fan of the Birmingham Stallions, or I don't even know what league they're in. Is that the UFL or the Arena League or whatever? There's so many teams in these startup leagues that they may have a few thousand fans at the game, but they have these brand new uniforms which aesthetically might look cool, but it's hard to get people to care about those franchises, about those brands, because you don't have what the 49ers have or what the NFL has, and that's decades of built-up history of huge wins and devastating losses. That's the kind of stuff that creates the background for what we're about to see and why people care so much about what we're going to see in the 2024 season. So I was just reminded of that as I was at Sam's, and I saw those newspapers. And it was a little crowded in there, so I didn't start the live inside. I started it outside with those double cheeseburgers, but it was really cool. It was a neat thing to really look at when I was over there. So I'm going to toss it over to 49ers Q&A. We've got about 10 minutes. Hopefully you guys like the setup that I have. I swung by here through San Francisco a month before training camp starts to get the studio in order. I have a couple more tweaks that I'm going to make here before I head to the airport to get that camera nice and ready. But, that ties into 49ers history as well. We got that poster of the 49ers winning the Super Bowl in 1994 with all the stars they had on the team. And then we have the monumental poster, right? The players who were on all 4 Super Bowl championship winning teams before then. So I think I thought long and hard about what I wanted to feature in the background as we talk about the 49ers this year. And just because I sense that there are such deep historical connections with what's about to happen, and we know that the 49ers are really talented. We know that they're really good. I felt it was right to invoke some of the past. And I got to shout out to Jim Rutter, who was able to donate those posters to the show. Jim is a really good friend, big Stanford fan, likes the 49ers as well, and he was able to hand those over to me. So here's a question. Do you think there will be a camp battle at center? I think there's battles at every position, but I think if Jake Brendel's healthy, he's the odds-on favorite to be the starter. I don't know if he's going to be healthy, though. I mean, he's got the knee tendonitis right now, and I do think that's a position where the 49ers could get some better play. I think that Brendel might have been dealing with the knee tendonitis last year because he wasn't as good in 2023 as he was in 2022. And listen, they've got other veteran options not named Jake Brendel on this football team. John Feliciano can play center. He was playing some center in the spring program. Ben Barch can play center. He was playing some center in the spring program when Feliciano sat out sometimes. So these are all possibilities for the 49ers. Now, as far as a longer-term succession plan at center, they have Drake Nugent and Bryson Mays on the roster. We'll see what happens with Nick Zakelj this year. I don't think any of those guys is a threat to start right away this season. But you can tell that the 49ers are moving the gears at that center position already. You can tell that this is something that they're thinking about because it's such an important position, not just this season, but moving forward into seasons beyond 2024. So that's a really good question. When people talk about improvement of the offensive line, or Andrew's question right here, do you think the 2023 draft class will contribute this season? I think it has to. I don't think it necessarily has to contribute through starting caliber production, but I think that the 49ers have played 60 games of the past 3 years. They obviously that takes a toll on your body, and I think that they need a youth infusion especially at the depth positions to make sure that they are staying vibrant, fresh, fast over the course of what could be and what they hope will be another 20-game marathon. So that's where the draft class comes in. That's where the experience of this draft class comes in. Somebody like Ricky Pearsall played a whole lot of football. Somebody like Renardo Green, 4 years of a lot of football in multiple positions at safety and at cornerback for Florida State. Somebody like Malik Mustafa, again, a ton of football. Somebody like Dominic Pooney carried his game from the D2 level to Kansas and didn't give up a sack there over 2 seasons. Tatum Bethune from UCF to Florida State. That's a lot of football, right? So Jarrett Kingston, Washington State and USC. The 49ers have a very, very experienced rookie class this year. And I think the hope is that those guys are polished enough and experienced enough to contribute immediately. And again, they don't have to contribute as starting level players because the 49ers have plenty of star power. But what you need is that robust depth, special teams, just the strengthening of spots 40 to 53 on the 53-man roster, so you're ready to withstand yet another marathon. It's going to be the 4th straight marathon coming for the 49ers. Do you think the league will ever get to the point where the quarterback salary won't count against the cap? I don't think the owners want that. I think the owners want to keep their costs constrained. And if the quarterback is the biggest expenditure, then that's probably not going to happen. Here we go, making another turn. We've made it to the mission. So, no, and the owners are going to be the ones deciding what counts against the cap and what doesn't. So I don't think that – I think what may happen is that the quarterbacks might get their own sap at some point. But if anything, it's going to trend toward more stuff in the league getting capped because the owners want to keep more money in their bank accounts. Any more questions? I got 3 minutes, maybe even less than that. The biggest and best addition the 49ers have made this offseason. That is the question from Mike. Ricky Pearsall, their top pick. Because Ricky's going to be able to contribute immediately with the skill set that he has. He's going to be able to turn this 49ers receiving room into a juggernaut. They have the best receiving core in the NFL. It also helps give them some leverage and insulation in the Brandon Aiyuk situation. But you've got a guy that's going to, I think, fit really well with Brock Purdy with his movement ability. I think he's going to be able to beat press man coverage. He's a vacuum as far as being able to catch the football I think that Pearsall is the 49ers' most significant acquisition right now when they're in that kind of win now mode, right? And I think he's going to be able to contribute in some shape or form right away. Passing through another neighborhood. This is Valencia Street on the Mission. Good little pizzeria there on the corner. A block over, the San Francisco Giants mural is really cool. You guys might have seen the burrito from last night. That was at Taqueria Cancun. And then there's a restaurant up here on the corner. We're going to make this turn on Dearborn Street. This restaurant, same owners as the Liho Yacht Club. They've got a little rooftop patio up there. Pretty cool, right? So this is where the driverless car, you know, this guy in his Prius. Oh, look, we're going to squeeze by him. We don't care. Oh, I love it. Look at that. That's a good note to finish on. We found the hole, just like Christian McCaffrey. Good running here by the driverless car. I guess good rolling by the driverless car. We'll talk to everybody soon. Yeah, if I can finish it. Yeah.